Welcome to topic 3.3 of module 3. In this topic, we will learn about the different host-microbe interactions. During the course of this video, try and answer as many questions as you can from module 3, topic 3.3. The learning objectives for this topic are to understand definitions relating to human-microbe interactions, describe the contributions made by Jenner, Pasteur, Lister, Koch and Fleming, describe Koch's postulates, describe how disease spreads within a host and between hosts, and to describe how the difference between hosts can affect the spread of disease. Infectious diseases are caused by pathogens, including bacteria, viruses, and helminths. Infectious diseases cause a significant percentage of all deaths. About 1/3 of the world's population is infected with a bacterium called Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and this poses a significant problem in developing countries in particular. Acute respiratory infections, AIDS, diarrheal diseases, TB, malaria, measles, and hepatitis B are the top 7 infectious diseases to kill humans. An infectious disease is a disease that is caused by a microbe. A communicable disease can be spread from one host to another. Ebola, the common flu, and hepatitis B are all examples of communicable diseases. Non-communicable diseases cannot spread from one host to another, while diseases that spread very easily from one host to another are contagious diseases. The common cold is one of the most contagious diseases in the world. There are many examples of symbiosis throughout biology. The human body is the best example for mutualism, where the microbe and the host both benefit from one another. For example, we benefit from the presence of E. coli in our gut, as it helps in the digestion of several nutrients, and in return it gets nutrients from our GI tract. In commensalism, only one party benefits, and the other is neither benefited nor harmed, as seen in the relationship we have with the bacteria on our skin. Finally, parasitism is a non-mutual symbiotic relationship, where the parasite benefits and the host is harmed. Parasitism includes protozoa, worms, and pathogenic bacteria. Pathogens are classified into 2 general categories. The primary pathogen is an organism that can bypass the immune system to cause disease. Best examples for primary pathogens include HIV and malaria that infect healthy individuals and cause disease. Opportunistic pathogens take advantage of the host's weakened immune system to cause infection or disease. There can be multiple causes for a weak immune system, including malnutrition, cancer patients undergoing chemotherapy, or advanced HIV. Commensals, the term given to microbes that normally colonize the human body, can become opportunistic pathogens if they enter sites that they don't normally colonize. For example, Staphylococcus aureus is a commensal on humans, but can cause serious respiratory tract infections in individuals with a weakened immune system. Edward Jenner is considered to be the father of immunology. He is credited with implementing the world's first vaccine. Jenner was the first to notice that milkmaids exposed to cowpox did not contract smallpox. Cowpox is a similar but much milder form of smallpox. In light of this observation, Jenner vaccinated or infected people with cowpox and found that they did not contract smallpox. Vaccines themselves are made from weakened or killed disease-causing microbes. Introduction of these microbes activates the immune system to produce antibodies against the microorganism. Louis Pasteur is considered as the father of microbiology, and was the first to propose the biogenesis theory. According to biogenesis theory, living things only come from other living things by reproduction, and that life does not spontaneously arise from non-living material. He discovered pasteurization, which is when you heat food to destroy microbes. Furthermore, he was able to develop vaccines for both rabies and anthrax. He also developed the attenuation theory, according to which, if you introduce a weakened form of a virus into a host, it cannot harm the host, but it can act as a vaccine. Ignaz Semmelweis was the first to suggest the significance of hand washing to midwives on maternity wards. Washing hands has significantly reduced the risk of infections in both newborns and the mothers after giving birth. However, Joseph Lister developed and advocated the use of aseptic compounds and sterilization of surgical instruments to prevent infections during surgical procedures. Robert Koch was the first to demonstrate that microbes caused disease. He demonstrated that tuberculosis, cholera, and anthrax were each caused by different bacteria. Koch proposed 4 postulates, which are considered as the gold standard in establishing a causal relationship between a microbe and a disease. The Koch postulates are: the same pathogen must be present in all diseased organisms, but not in healthy organisms. The pathogen must be isolated from the diseased host and must be able to be grown in pure culture. That cultured microbe taken from a diseased host must recreate the disease when introduced into a healthy host. And finally, the pathogen must be re-isolated from the inoculated, diseased experimental host, as shown in the figure on the right. Paul Ehrlich was the first to discover antibiotics. He discovered a compound called salvarsan, which acted to kill microbes, and was referred to as the magic bullet in 1906. He was able to demonstrate that salvarsan killed the bacterium that caused syphilis without any side effects to the patients. Alexander Fleming was not the first one to discover antibiotics, but instead was the first to observe and show that living organisms produce their own antibiotics. Alexander Fleming observed that Penicillium notatum, a species of fungus, was able to inhibit bacterial growth. However, it was Howard Florey and Ernst Chain who successfully extracted the antibiotic penicillin from the fungus Penicillium notatum. There are many ways for a disease-causing organism to enter and exit our body. Microbes can enter our body orally, by ingesting contaminated food and water, or by breathing aerosolized bacteria when an infected person coughs or sneezes, or by absorption through cuts on the skin or mucous membranes, and through the transfer of bodily fluids from an infected person. Or it could be by direct injection of an organism into the body, by vectors such as mosquito bites. Similar to routes of entry, microbes have definitive routes of exit through which they leave the body and spread disease. Some of the most common routes of exit are through the respiratory tract by sneezing and coughing. Or it could be through the gastrointestinal tract through saliva and feces, or in the form of secretions from sexual organs. And finally, through vectors such as mosquitoes and contaminated syringes. The spreading of disease-causing microbes is called transmission. Infectious and communicable diseases spread through different mechanisms. Direct contact transmission occurs when an infected person physically contacts a susceptible person. The best examples for direct contact transmission are sexually transmitted diseases. Indirect contact transmission occurs when a person touches a contaminated surface or through breathing aerosolized bacteria, which can remain airborne for a long period of time, as is the case with measles. No direct human-to-human contact occurs in indirect contact transmission. Pathogens can also spread through vehicles, which include ingestion of contaminated water and food that can lead to conditions such as cholera and salmonella poisoning. Finally, vectors like mosquitoes can also transmit disease-causing pathogens, such as the ones involved in malaria and Ross River fever. There are a number of predisposing factors that increase the risk of acquiring an infectious disease. Age, because infants and elderly people have a weaker immune system, allowing the pathogen to overcome the body's protective mechanisms and cause disease. Sex is also a factor. Women, for example, have a higher incidence of urinary tract infections, due largely to anatomical differences in the length of the urinary tract when compared to males. Genetics can also play a key role, as there are conditions that are associated with weaker immune systems as a result of genetic mutation. Other factors, such as diet and pre-existing conditions, also play a role in the risk of infection. There are two different types of infections. When an infection is isolated in one area or a single organ, it is called a local infection. And when an infection affects the whole body, it is known as a systemic infection. In some cases, a local infection can lead to a systemic infection. One such example is the urinary tract infection mentioned earlier, which, in its initial stages, is limited to the urinary tract. However, if not treated, it can enter the bloodstream and cause systemic damage. Within a host, there are several stages of disease. Incubation is the initial stage of disease, where the host doesn't show any signs or symptoms. This is followed by the prodromal period, in which the host starts to show mild signs and symptoms of infection. In the period of illness, the host shows the most severe signs and symptoms because of the high number of microbes within the body. This is followed by the period of decline, in which the signs and symptoms of infection slowly start to subside. And finally, the host enters a period of convalescence, when the body returns to its pre-disease state and health is restored. Disease reservoirs include both animate and inanimate sources, such as a person, animal, plant, or substance where the disease-causing microbes can grow and multiply. Reservoirs act as sources from which disease can spread and infect other individuals. An infected human during any stage of disease can act as a reservoir in the transfer of pathogens to other individuals. Zoonoses are pathogens that usually infect animals, but can be transmitted to humans. Non-living reservoirs also include soil and contaminated food and water. Emerging infectious diseases are infections that have appeared for the first time or whose incidence has increased in the recent past. Some of the most recent emerging infections are severe acute respiratory infections, or SARS, MRSA, and the H1N1 flu. In summary, from this video, we have learnt the definition of infections, communicable, non-communicable, and contagious diseases, the different symbiotic relationships, different pathogen types. We have also learnt about the individuals who have contributed significantly to the field of microbiology. We've learnt about the different routes of disease transmission and about the different routes of microbial entry and exit. And finally, we've learnt about the spread of disease.